opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Shaw Cable Systems or of the station. Through our access policy, we provide the opportunity for community groups and individuals to express their points of view.
Everything you wish you could ask, straight up, to the point, no escape. You never get the answer if you don't ask the question.
Welcome to Winnipeg Direct on Shaw, the show that looks into big issues, current events, and concerns that affect Canadians. I'm your host, Megan Duffy, and joining me on the panel is Mike Brown, PC candidate for St. Vital, Dr. John Gerard, the Manitoba Liberal leader, and Jeff Ferrati, City Councillor. Sadly, no one from the NDP party was able to join us on our political discussion here on Winnipeg Direct. Our first topic for consideration is the provincial response to the flood situation plaguing Manitoba, particularly in the areas around Lake Manitoba and the Assiniboine River. Over 2,200 Manitobans had to be evacuated from their homes as of June 11th. In late May, the provincial government announced a $175 million compensation package, including $20 million for flood protection in Brandon and another $20 million for dikes along the Assiniboine River. However, many groups such as First Nations living along the flood-damaged areas around Lake Manitoba began asking for more information and wondering why their calls went unheard of. So, Dr. Gerard, the first question I'm going to throw at you. How do you think the NDP, their response, do you think it was early enough? Do you think it was quick enough?
Well, I think first of all we should acknowledge that a lot of people have put a tremendous effort into helping fight the flood, which has been a huge factor in Manitoba this year, and a lot of people have had their homes and cottages on Lake Manitoba devastated. Now, the fact is that there were plans going back to when the Assiniboine with portage diversion was first put in, that it's a recognition that there needed to be an improved outlet between Lake Manitoba and Lake Winnipeg, because the portage diversion can provide 25,000 this year up to 34,000 cubic feet per second, and the Fairford outlet at the moment can only provide up to, at most, 20,000 cubic feet per second. So you're dumping a whole lot more water into Lake Manitoba than we can let out toward Lake Winnipeg. The net result is that the water has gone up. Some people estimate this year that it's probably gone up an extra 6 feet, or 3 feet, because of the water flowing in the portage diversion. And yeah, I think that there could have been a lot of better planning, certainly, that would have avoided the kind of catastrophe that we've had this year for people on Lake Manitoba and for people on Lake St. Martin.
I think there was some planning that went back in 2003 at the Shellmouth Dam to increase the flow there, to do exactly what you said, is to release some water. And then it stopped there. And so instead of being preventive, which seems to make sense, we're reactive. And so instead of having a flood strategy that is tailored to looking forward, our flood strategy is, God, I hope this doesn't happen again next year. And I don't know how that's reasonable.
How do you think the Conservatives would handle a flood?
Well, I think first of all, and I've talked to a number of residents about this, they would like to see a water strategy, so that we're looking at all the waterways and how they're working, how the mouth of the Red going into the Lake Winnipeg is working. It's slowing things down there. There's a bottleneck there because there's been no dredging in years. There's all kinds of things we can look at, but we have to look at it as a whole and not say, oh, where's the water coming this year? God, I hope it doesn't come again. I just think that we have to be proactive instead of reactive all the time. I think we know it's coming, right?
Absolutely. Jeff, do you think that we responded too late on this flood?
It's always easier to look back in hindsight to figure out what needed to be done. But again, there's so many things that we're not doing that even we used to do in the past. Looking at dredging the Red River between Winnipeg and Lake Winnipeg. It hasn't been done in many years. It's time that we get back on this. The fact that the River Rouge got docked on there, it's because they're not doing proper dredging in the Red River. There's a lot more that can be done, and we're just not doing it up till now.
I think that people need to recognize that over the years we've drained a lot of potholes, and that the net result of draining a lot of land in Manitoba has been that the water comes off a lot quicker. And we've prepared with experience along the Red River and got dikes around cities and so on and towns. But along the Assiniboine River, we have not been prepared nearly as well as we should have been. So we may have been lucky for the last few years, But as there's more and more drainage, and there has been a lot over the last, particularly the last 10 years in western Manitoba, what that's done is to feed a whole lot more water more quickly into the Assiniboine River, and it really compounded the problems this year.
But we knew that, though, right? We knew that there's a lot of problems where we know that the mouth of the Red into the Lake Winnipeg is shallow now. I mean, you can't get a boat in there because there's it's a bottleneck. So we know that's happened. We've been looking at this for a long time, and each year we know we're going to get a certain amount of flooding. Sometimes minuscule, and we kind of say, well, thank goodness it was a light year. But every year we seem to be getting some flooding, and I think we have to be prepared for the fact that this could be the new reality, and so the reaction can't be, oh God, let's not have as bad a flood as we had last year.
Yeah. I mean, part of this situation is that we've got, with climate change, the climate change models predict more wet weather in spring and early summer. And when you say it's the new reality, this is probably in part related to climate change. And those models go back at least 10 years. Back in '99, when there was a lot of wet water in southwestern Manitoba, I was talking about the need to take a water management strategy in which we're holding back water as well as draining, and we need to be holding a lot more water back, as for example we do on South Tobacco Creek, where there's 27 small dams and you get the peak flow reduced by 25%. I mean, imagine that if you held water back to the extent that you can reduce the peak flow on the Assiniboine River this year. This year we had peak flows at the Portage site at about 50,000 cubic feet per second. 25% less than that would be 37,500 cubic feet per second. Much more manageable, and would have been much less trouble to deal with.
What we really need to do is plan. I mean, North Dakota now is looking at a very organized system of, we've got farmers' fields, we've got access roads that are built up. When we have this much water, this field gets flooded out, it gets up to this price, and there's compensation that's going directly to the landowners, the farm owners, that are, you know, losing their fields and perhaps a growing season. There's a very orderly process that they're starting to go through now in North Dakota. I mean, cities like Fargo and Grand Forks aren't blessed with the floodway that we have here in the city of Winnipeg. But again, you know, there's opportunities to do these sort of things, whether it's smallmouths along South Tobacco or wherever. There are opportunities to come up with plans, you know, ahead of time, not finding out, you know, hours before that, you know, we're going to breach a dam intentionally and drain out, you know, people south of the Hoop and Holler junction point. I mean, it was so the families, like on TV talking about, you know, this is not an act of God, this is an act of government. It was just, you know, your heart went out to these families.
Why do you
we
think
need to have these
they're not
plans ahead of
planning?
time so that there's a price attached to it and everything.
Well, it's easy not to plan. It's easy to hope, right? It's easy if we all just sort of just sit down and hope that things are going to work out.
But we know that we live in a floodplain. I mean, you think the provincial government would step up to the plate and help these people. Every year we're probably going to get flooded.
Yes.
Well, I think that there's some good examples of areas where, in fact, there was a plan in place, it just wasn't executed. Now, for example, in Brandon, the NDP committed that when they fixed up the 18th Street bridges, they would also put in place 1 in 100-year protection for Brandon with the dikes, appropriate dikes. I mean, we'd put in place 1 in 700-year protection for Winnipeg, so it was only fair that we at least bring Brandon to 1 in 100 years. And that was promised in 2006, but the bridges were fixed, but the dikes were never built. And so this year, if those permanent dikes had been there, the level which the water rose to was only a foot or a foot and a half higher. And it would have been very easy, right, just to sandbag those last 2 feet. And at the same time, we wouldn't have had to evacuate 1,400 people. We wouldn't have had to close 75 businesses for quite some time in Brandon. We could have, you know, if the plan had actually been executed as the NDP had actually promised in 2006, we would have been a lot further ahead, and it would have been less costly, both in terms of people's lives and businesses, as well as in terms of government dollars.
Can I go back to the Hoop and Holler, I don't want to call it a diversion, but breach for a second. I had a lot of trouble with that, and I'll tell you why. You know, if I build a house far enough away from the river that I'm not in danger of flooding, I expect the government to respect that. If I build on the river and I get flooding, well, you know what, maybe to a certain degree I have to be prepared for some of the consequences of that. But if I build far enough away that I will not have to deal with flooding and the government floods me, I've got a problem with that. And maybe it's just me, but I just fundamentally, I think that's, I get the finances of it. I get that they're looking at the dollars and they're saying, okay, you know, cheaper to do it this way. But and the people that were there, they weren't getting information.
No, they weren't.
We were talking, I talked to a number of media outlets that said, you know what, they'd been down there and knocked on people's doors and they said, you know what, you're the first person that's come to talk to me about this. And tomorrow, I may be flooded. Well, I don't know. I guess we need the other chair for the NDP to respond to that, but it's crazy.
I was twice at the Hoop and Holler Cut and looking at the situation there. I mean, I think that the big problem was that they had not adequately prepared the region between Portage and Bay St. Paul. And so that there was a threat of that going over. And so making the cut was in fact a safety valve. Right? We didn't use it nearly as much as we might have used it. Historically, think about it, there was water flowing in that direction out of the Hoop and Holler Cut naturally, and there was water flowing elsewhere out of the Assiniboine River, some up to Lake Manitoba. And what we've done by building dikes, by protecting people outside the Assiniboine River.
But do you think enough is being done to protect those people?
Well, I mean, you know, before there was a Portage diversion, all that water, right, would have come straight toward Winnipeg. Right? And it would have spilled out over the banks of the Assiniboine River, gone down toward the LaSalle River or up toward Lake Manitoba. The Portage diversion was huge. I mean, the fact is that the Portage diversion was taking roughly twice as much water as was continuing down the Assiniboine River towards Winnipeg. So people in Winnipeg have to be really pleased that there wasn't more problems than we got. And I think we can be very thankful. But we also have to appreciate the sacrifice that people at the Hoop and Holler Cut, people in Lake Manitoba have made, and we have to support them now, knowing that they have made a big sacrifice for those of us who live in Winnipeg.
Absolutely.
You have to look at the math, though, too. That's right, Jeff. But you got to look at the math, and if we're dumping that much water into Lake Manitoba, we've got to be able to get that water out again. And if we can't, then the math doesn't add up.
Do you think that the government relied too much on volunteers when they should have relied more on the military?
Well,
the military came in, the water went down, and then the military left.
Sure.
Do you think they should have stayed a little bit longer?
No. Well, I mean, the agreement with the military, and they do this on a standard basis with any province, is that they will come in for emergencies when there is an acute need, but they're not there to, you know, put sandbags up and things like that. And that the military did a really good job, and I think we've got to be very thankful for the job that they did. But the role of the military was limited, and we have to be able to manage it. And you know, we better manage by preventing some of these problems. But once we got into it, then you know, there was a huge effort by many people. What I can tell you from being at a place like Delta Beach, right? I was on the ground there. This was an area where eventually many of the homes were washed out by the waves. That they didn't have provincial engineers, people who were professionals to help them. And that's what should have happened. There should have been much more support from the province.
There should have been more support.
Sure. I mean, the province gave them...
I'm going to have to cut you off there, Dr. Girard. That is all the time we have right now. Here on Winnipeg Direct, we'll be more with our panel right back after this.
The opinions expressed on the program you are watching are not necessarily those of Shaw Cable Systems or of the station. Through our access policy, we provide that